Hello and welcome to the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast with me, Clive Barber, and my good mate, Noel Tom. For the days when you can't ride your bike, there's always the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast. Alright team, welcome back to another exciting episode. This week, mainly just me and Noel with a quick 5 minutes with Mark and Jamie, although by now I've realised you can't have a quick 5 minutes with Mark and Jamie, so there's about a quick 13 minutes with Mark and Jamie. In fact, it was about 19 minutes with Mark and Jamie, but I cut a load out because they just went on and on and on about their festival. Which is fair enough because it's going to be brilliant. Hope you can make it. We look forward to seeing you all there. Noel's fresh back from his trip in Portugal, so we talk about that. We talk about the ABR festival, which we're looking forward to going to, and we talk about the Rydell Rally. Right, let's get on with it. So I can edit that out.
Edit what out?
Exactly. So listen, guys, me and Noel are just doing a bit of a catch-up podcast. He's just got back from another trip, so we're going to catch up in a minute. But I thought this was a great opportunity just for you to give us a bit of an update on the festival. I know we've been talking in the background and things are coming together and it's sounding really exciting. So what's going on? What's new? How's it changed from last year? Where's the emphasis this year? How's it looking?
Well, I think the first thing to mention is we're at that point of the festival where the stress has gone from probably 10% and it ramps. It's not a linear ramp, it's like exponential, and we're already sitting at 80% match chat, aren't we? Let's get that one out of the way because May the 1st just seems to be the step change in activity. But for good reason, actually, this year, because the festival's changing, and we've been quite clear in that on the emails, but the festival's changing in the respect that the first 2 years we've had talks, and then year 1 was talks, year 2 was talks and workshops. This year, we want to bring in this Academy for Adventure, and we sent an email out about that a little while ago. So whereas we've got inspiration on one hand, me and Jamie are teachers, and we want to really sort of bring home that education, but in a fun and light-hearted way. Don't worry, you're not going to be sitting at a school desk. So inspiration and education, I guess that's the real big shift to this year.
You were talking the other day about some kind of a ride-in type thing, people to have a bit of an adventure on the way in.
Yeah. Well, we all go out on a weekend, don't we, for a ride out with your mates. Well, we're trying to kind of flip that on its head so that we're going to make your journey to the festival the adventure. That's the idea. So we're going to coin it a ride in, and we're looking at options for people being able to meet up at certain points at a certain distance away from the festival and enjoy the journey. Or even if you don't meet up with people en route, enjoy the journey anyway, because there's so much going to be on at the festival to keep people entertained, enjoying the route there and not just getting there to kind of do something and just the journey being something you have to do. Making that an enjoyable part is really something that we want to bring to it this year.
And I guess what's worth making up of that is going to be fully inclusive, so it won't matter if you're on a Royal Enfield Bullet or a GS or a CRF. It's going to be on road. It's going to be see the beauty of the Peak District. It's going to be curated so that we stay away from the hotspots. You know, we're going to do it responsibly. But it's ultimately not hundreds of bikes flooding into the festival, but pockets of bikes flooding in to a meet-up point to then make your own way to the festival, which will only be a shortish distance then. Certainly that's our plan at the minute. We don't know the exact details. We want to make the ride-in part of it versus... Because otherwise you just rock up, don't you? And it's like, oh, I'll pitch my tent. And especially if you're on your own, you're not really sure where to pitch it. But if you've had 2 opportunities, the main meet-up and then at the drop-off hub or whatever we call it, to potentially meet new people... That's cool, right?
And just so that people can start thinking about timings, on day 1, when does the first thing start on the first day?
Yeah, on the Friday. So I don't think we're going to put anything on the stages until at least 1400 on the Friday.
2 o'clock in the afternoon for you non-military types.
Nothing's going to happen before 1400, 2 p.m. clock hours, at least, leaving that entire morning to work your way in. But also don't panic if you're working on the Friday and you want to get there Friday night, you know, because we've got some cool stuff happening in the evening for sure, but you won't miss out. You're not going to have massive FOMO of not getting there until, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock.
So you're not missing much because are you going to put us on in Friday afternoon again?
Yeah, we'll stick you on the reception area. We were going to put influencers and big famous people there, but we'll just stick you guys there instead.
I feel really special now. There's always that contention, isn't there, around the Peak District, around clogging the trail. So I guess the riding is part of reducing the impact that the festival's going to have on the lanes in the Peak District. We're not discouraging people from riding, but there's loads to do at the festival all day, each of the days, so that there is maybe save the ride out for another weekend.
The fact is that the Peak District is an absolute hotbed for sensitivity of trail riding. We almost jeopardise it if we think, right, I'm going to the festival, I'm going to load my bike into a van and I'm just going to go rip the lanes for 2 days. It really puts everything at risk. And we're working very closely with the TRF, the TET, obviously, to manage that and monitor that. Not monitor that, that's the wrong word, but certainly be aware of the activity that's happening on the lanes, and how we can sort of work with it versus work against it or just ignore it. Yeah, the TRF are a big part of this year. We were on a call with them just earlier this morning to see how we can get them involved, because obviously they're a big player in our game, aren't they? So the riding will be road, it will be thought through, it'll be so I'd really encourage people to, if they wanted to join on one of those versus smash the lanes to the festival. Not saying you can't do that, the lanes are there to be enjoyed. Can't say you can't do that, I won't say you don't do that. I guess just be mindful, be courteous and be thoughtful of the impact that could have to not only the Peak District but to the festival and our wider sport.
We've been talking over weeks and months about the lineup of the guests, and we've been kind of fairly reticent about confirming who's coming, and I guess we still are, because all of this is fairly last minute when you know who can and can't make it. But it is looking really good, isn't it, this year?
It's looking jam-packed. We have been holding some stuff back. When you're kind of organising these things, you want to make sure that people can commit. And like you said, people have got a lot going on. Schedules are busy. But now we've got a pretty good lineup now, and it's fairly firm as well. And we were just talking over the festival lineup earlier on today, and it is looking jam-packed. There's going to be loads of stuff on, which I suppose harks back to the whole ethos of the festival, is to come to the site and enjoy the site and do stuff at the site and learn, be inspired, be entertained, rather than come to the peaks and go off away from the festival. As Mark said earlier on, we've got the School of Adventure, so there's going to be workshops going all weekend with people who are sort of leaders in their fields, everything from bike maintenance through to sort of first aid. We've even got Jim looking at doing some cookery out there as well, but there's a whole load of stuff. But alongside that, the more traditional festival aspects, I suppose, are the speakers that are the main lineup. We have got a pretty good lineup again this year, haven't we, Mark?
I was just looking at it, to remind myself, because we were looking at it this morning. It's hard to pick out the highlights almost, because it's all a highlight. But
Some podcast.
Where are they? I haven't even got them on the schedule.
You messaged They're probably busy.
I think I've got them Sunday night. Let's have a look through some of the bigger names at which we can guarantee. TAMP podcast. We know you boys are going to be there in the podcast awards. Categorically highlight.
Might be.
Categorically a highlight from last year. Yeah, we might come.
You better stop being nicer to us, though.
You're hosting your own stage in entirety again this year, aren't you?
We're not sharing a stage. It's not like flip-flopping. You've got your own little area, haven't you? Your little area. I've talked it down like a little garden shed. You're having a massive stretch tent.
Bless you. Got your own little area.
Is it actually a stage?
Yes. It's an elevated stage under a massive stretch tent. Much bigger than last year. The entire stretch tent last year, add some extra space to that, and we've got 2 of them. And you've got your own stage within that. So who's going to be on that one then? You boys give us a couple of highlights, because I'm looking at a couple of names and I'm already going, yeah, they're mega.
I think the one I'm most excited about is another podcaster, Simon Josie, that does a podcast called Real Riders, where he talks to motorcycling filmmakers. He's going to do a couple of workshops, one of which he'll do with, I was going to say us, he's not going to do it with Noel. Noel hasn't got a clue. But we're going to do one about how to make a podcast.
I'm going to learn so much at this event.
You'll probably have gone to bed by this point. So we're going to offer people the opportunity, is once they've learned how to create a podcast, to go away, create a podcast, and then if it's not shit, it goes on the TAM podcast
And
channel.
who gets to decide it's not shitness?
It's me, I'm the ultimate judge. It might go to the committee, Team Yaris, to decide which ones can go forward or not. Now, honestly, if anybody makes a podcast, I will be absolutely delighted, and we might even let the shit ones go on. You never know.
You've got Robbie and Dan, Noodles for Breakfast, haven't you? They're coming back from South America.
Yeah, Robbie and Dan they're still in South America at the moment. They're still posting every day, but they're going to be back in time, and they're coming to the festival. We've got some big bike wankers coming to talk about actually taking big bikes out on the lanes. So we're trying to get away from this small bike prejudice that we've still got.
Who are the BBWs that are coming?
We will be putting you in the shed for that presentation, I'm afraid.
HP2 Mav is going to come and do that, and I think he may be bringing a friend or two, but we'll see closer to the day.
We've got a bit of an Africa special going on, because a contact that we both share is obviously Jack Kemp, who's just done London to Cape Town in a sort of 2-part special. He made it as far as Morocco, came back and then redid it. So we've got Jack Kemp, and then Nye Davies, the Wandering Nye, who did London to Cape Town in a Wanna. Those are all on smallish bikes, aren't they? 250s and thereabouts. And then we're going to dial in to I Like Motorbikes, who are Tom and Lauren. They're currently in Congo. We're gonna speak with them digitally. Yeah, and we'll just see how they're getting on with it. So we've got a bit of an Africa special.
I'm really hoping that Nye can keep up his level of grumpiness live.
He is so funny.
His sense of humour is brilliant. If you've not checked out Nye's blogs, go and check him out on Instagram and then follow his travel map thing, whatever it was. But his blogs were absolutely brilliant.
He's writing for MCN now as well, of course.
Yeah, he's a very talented writer, yeah. To flip away from the Africa bunch, we've got Hema Chowdhury, who incredible woman who went on this fantastic adventure. We heard her speak down in London, didn't we, Jamie? And just the some of the stuff she was coming out with, the photos, just insane.
Again, we've tried to not just regurgitate the same people as last year, although we are expecting Ben King to be there in some guise. I mean, it'd be weird if he wasn't, I suppose. Although in true Ben King fashion, he doesn't respond to any messages that you ever send him. So.
We haven't heard from him for 6 months. And then just to sort of top off the highlights, I've got one more name that I'd love to mention, Helen Lloyd. If you've not read one of Helen's books, if you've not seen some of her posts, man, you are missing out. She's just come back from the Middle East. She's just been touring around Iraq and all these places that you wouldn't think anybody would adventure. Well, she's back in the UK, I think, today or yesterday.
She's another one from the TAMP podcast address book, of course. Season 1.
No, I'll claim this one. We've got contact on the Facebook. We just haven't stolen all your guests. We've stolen some.
Just most of them. Well, what about Carl Searles, who's part of the team that's actually there in the run-up to ride the Dakar? They're going to be at the festival talking away, and we sort of stole it.
Lara Moto's coming along, so she's a road rider predominantly, but she's gone on this lightweight adventure. She's hoping to get a CRF, go on like a 5-week lightweight adventure later this year, her first ever lightweight adventure. And I just think that's brilliant. You know, somebody coming from road to go and do what we consider almost par for the course now. She's going to do it for the first time, so she's going to talk us through all of her thought processes, worries, I guess, and things that she's excited about. So
I just need to confirm with these guys, but we're hoping to get a representative from the ACT.
I'm going to steal your contact here. Just like to drop in. I'm actually good friends with JB.
Season 4, he was in.
And I've spoke with him in person after I rode his bike last weekend, because he's my mate, that he's going to be coming along.
I'm pretty sure the guys from Trials Day said they were going to come along as well.
They are, yeah.
They will be fun company, that's for sure.
So they're going to be fully embedded into the Academy of Adventure. So they're going to do some classes. So they're going to have an on-site presence. They're only about 35 minutes from the festival site. So we are speaking with them, and they're trying to explore possibilities of being able to take a few people across to the farm, actually have a trial on a trial for an hour or so.
And then there's some really worthwhile mentions just while we're here. But Joe Mercer from Desert Road Racing is coming along. Rose Racing, sorry, get my words out. He's coming along, hopefully bringing his full rally truck setup this time, because we've got the infrastructure for it. We've got Fern Hume coming along, working in tandem partly maybe with the TRF to talk about match GPSs. We've got Moto Junkies coming along. This is really interesting because they're hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe if all the stars align, going to bring 6 Himalayans 452s with them, so people can take them out as a little bit of a workshop. And then you name it, we've got Rachel, she's going to talk about confidence. We've got Paul's going to talk about mental health motorbike. I think we've got it all covered this year.
The ones I'm most excited about is a young lad that's up and coming, actually. You've probably not heard of him. Austin Vince. Austin's going to be...
Season 1.
Season 1. But no, we've got Austin Vince there as well, the legend that is Austin. He's got his own area that he's going to have at the festival, and he is going to be centre stage at his own request, or was it demand, as well. So there's so much stuff going on, and we've definitely missed stuff as well.
That is an incredible lineup, isn't it? That's a lot of very different people. They've all got one thing in common. They're all doers, aren't they? They've all got stuff done. But that's fantastic.
Yeah, well done, fellas. Listen, one more final thing, because this 5 minutes just turned into 19 and a half minutes of our valuable podcasting time. Where do we get tickets from?
The website, as always, www.lightweightadventurers.co.uk. Just go there, big landing page. It'll say buy tickets to the festival or words to that effect. I can't actually remember. But go on there. It's £99 for a full weekender. That gets you in on Friday morning until last knock-ins on Sunday, and you can do everything. Honestly, we've aimed for best value. I think we've met it again. We haven't even spoken about all the music, all the beers, all the bars, all the food. We haven't even mentioned it. It's all going to be there.
I was going to say,
fuck off.
We've completely forgot. Guy Markham's coming along as well, isn't he? He can't wait to get there.
He is funny.
He is funny. Honestly, there's too many people. We've forgotten half of them. So we apologise if we missed you off.
You've just got back from Portugal.
I have. I've only just recovered. It's taken a while to assimilate back into normal civilian life.
You know, most people go on a trip and they go back to work the day after. And you've been back for a week and you're like, I've just recovered now.
Yeah, still trying to sum up the gumption to get out there and start making some money again.
Tell us about Portugal, though. How did you get there?
It was amazing. We trailered down to Portsmouth. This is where my whole battery, which I know you're going to have a go at me, my whole battery thing started.
No, the whole battery thing started about
a week before.
6 weeks ago.
Now,
when you're going, I think my battery's gone.
So,
how old is it?
Oh, it doesn't matter how old it is. It's perfectly.
These batteries last 6 years. You replace batteries before you break down.
You're not looking at the life of your battery and thinking, oh, June 2026, I need to change the battery. No.
Yes, you write the date you got your battery on, so you know in 3 years' time, I need to replace that battery.
Wow.
So normal lead acid batteries, 3 years.
Yeah, lithium battery.
These new lithium ones, 6 years.
Oh, okay. I know that now. Anyway, I left my...
I told you 6 weeks ago.
I don't listen to anything you say. So I rode over to John's house at his secret location in North Yorkshire, and we put the bikes on the trailer, and I inadvertently left my heated grips on, and the automatic kind of cut-off thing that my Oxford grips had stopped functioning. Probably something to do with a slightly dodgy battery. But anyway, I left my grips on. By the time I got to Portsmouth, I had a completely flat battery. So the very first thing I did with this bike when I took it off the trailer in Portsmouth was bump start it. That said, for the rest of the trip, the bike was great, but we'll get back to that. But yeah, we got the ferry, the 2-night ferry from Portsmouth. Had a lovely sail, got in, I think, probably at about... Sounds like I'm going to go through the whole thing hour by hour. I'm not going to do that. But we got in. We had no plan. This was the thing. We had no plan. And we'd had a whole Zoom meeting to plan not having a plan. And we literally just sat down in the bar on the ferry, got the map out and had a discussion. We had a conversation about where to go. Did you get that reference? It's an Oprah reference. So yeah, we didn't decide until we're on the boat as to where to go. And I'm going to claim this. I came up with the brilliant idea that, look, we've got 2 weeks. Unusually, we've got 2 weeks. For some of us in the party, this was the longest they've been away from their wives, apparently. So I thought, look, we've got 2 weeks. Let's concentrate on getting to Portugal as quickly as possible, rather than waste some of that 2 weeks getting to Portugal. Let's just get to Portugal, which has been somewhere I've only ever sort of got to in the past and then had to turn around because I've been running out of time. So on the first day of getting there, we rode straight to Portugal, and it was the easiest thing. I couldn't believe it. Forget the mileage. It was probably knocking on for 300 miles. But the motorways in Spain, of course, they're just not like the motorways in the UK. They're not this awful, arduous, horrible journey. They're these wonderful roads with no traffic on them, that going over incredible flyovers over valleys. So it's quite a distracting ride. It's a very pleasant ride. So we were sort of amazed to find ourselves booking into a lovely guest house at 6 o'clock in the evening, feeling not too jaded. And we're in Portugal on the day that we arrived, which we just never thought was possible.
Can you get a ferry directly to Portugal?
I don't think so. It sounds like the fictitious ferry to Norway, doesn't it? I don't think you can. Maybe you probably can from Ireland or something ridiculous.
It's that 2-night trip on the ferry that isn't necessary. They go deliberately slowly, so you spend more money in the bar or on cups of tea. And that's a little bit frustrating. It's more frustrating on the way back, isn't it?
It goes pretty quick because you board the ferry at 12 o'clock at night. I don't think the hours are vastly different from the overnight ferry coming home. You just have a nice day. I don't mind it, as long as there isn't a horrible swell making you feel queasy. It's quite nice to kind of, especially if you're with people, as we were, that, we talk on WhatsApp quite a lot, but we go for years without actually seeing each other. So it's quite nice just to have that time to sort of spend with each other.
It was a trip of two halves, wasn't it, by the sound of things?
Yeah, how, in what way?
On the way down south, you're on the TET, which had some challenging lanes. Yeah. And it sounds like on the way back, you did more of the ACT.
Just so there was a bit of a loop and we weren't doing the same route coming back up. It works brilliantly.
But that's great, isn't it?
The only thing I did find, because I don't know a great deal about the TET, and I didn't have the actual ACT route on my sat-nav, but I hadn't realised that people are encouraged to do it in one direction. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think they are.
That's a film reference as well.
I did not know. What was that?
Wayne's World.
It's about as obscure as my reference. It's a good idea, isn't it? Because it just obviously just reduces the risk of running into someone going around a corner. This is my biggest fear on the TET, is meeting someone coming the other way, because you get so complacent about it, because you generally, in my experience, always have it completely to yourself. You'll go for weeks without seeing anyone. This idea that the TET has made these trails unbelievably busy. We hardly saw another bike track, really. It was rare to see another. We got quite excited if we did see another track, but it was rare to see. But that's my biggest fear, is coming around the corner, and because you don't always stay on the right side of the track, you'll often be forced to take just the best line for you at the time. And the guy coming the other way could be doing the same thing.
And we know what happens if you see people coming the other way, right?
Yeah.
Greg stops, Will crashes into Greg, you crash into Will, I crash into you, and I get all the blame.
The TET itself it's changed everything, because in the past, I've been to the Pyrenees quite a few times thinking that the Pyrenees is just one of the best places to ride the TET. It's now being usurped by Portugal. Portugal is just phenomenal. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The tracks are just unbelievable. Totally different to any trail riding I've done before now, I would say. Just for variation.
You said that some of it was quite technical.
Some of it's really difficult. I would really put people off going on some of the big silly bikes unless you're a fantastic rider. Some of it just sneaks up on you. Most of it's pretty standard, quite easy going. But now and again, there's some really dicey stuff. And it might not always be something you can turn around on. You might find yourself coming downhill and the next thing you know, you're in it and you can't turn around. So it's certainly the most technical riding I've ever done on TET tracks.
So would you recommend then somebody's got 10 days, northern Spain, or did you enjoy Portugal more, do you think? I haven't done the Picos yet. The Picos looks amazing. I was watching a Mr. Fish video today. He did a trip through the Picos and that just looked beautiful.
I was quite surprised because I've been to the Picos Mountains on road rides a few times, and I was sort of discouraging about going to it in a way, because to me it was just very narrow valleys that you couldn't really get up. There's no high roads really. You're just stuck at the bottom of very narrow, deep valleys. But I'd got it completely wrong really. And we did a section of it from the edge of the Picos heading east back to the port, and that was one of the best days trail riding I've ever had, because you were just riding at height all the time, looking back to the mountains of the Picos in the distance, snow-capped.
So you did the Picos on this trip as well?
On the way back, yeah, which was just incredible, yeah. But it's made me think, gosh, there's a lot more to see west of where we picked up on it from Potes. That section between the port and the edge of the Picos is just incredible. I've never been on tracks like that where you're just riding along ridges for so long. You're just at height all the time. It was unbelievable. But TET Portugal is incredible. Because we rode straight there, we missed out a lot of the TET in northwestern Spain up at the top. So that's to go back and do. It's just made all of us want to go back. Certainly go back to Portugal, and certainly go back and get off the ferry and head west rather than east, which is what we've always done. It kind of blows the Pyrenees out of the water a little bit.
And the food's good in Portugal, isn't it?
Everything. A coffee is 70 cents in a lot of places, which is unreal.
What?
As a group of four, you stop, you all get a cup of coffee, you all get a delicious bit of cake, and it's like €6. It's unbelievable. So the accommodation was great. We sort of slept in beds a lot more than I think we anticipated. We only probably camped a couple of nights, once on a bridge, which was interesting.
I saw that. It wasn't a bridge. It was like a mountain bike, North Shore.
It was a footbridge, yeah, a little tiny footbridge. But it was just, I'm a big fan of putting the pegless tent on solid ground, so it was the preferred option. We used Booking.com a lot for accommodation. That worked really well. We're all getting old, and really the temptation of a lovely bed and a shower is becoming greater and greater.
Welcome to my club.
One of the best parts about this trip was the meals out. We had some lovely meals out at night.
I heard you were drinking alcoholic beverages.
Well, drinking, because I'm with people. They're not obsessed with having 5 pints. They're having a reasonable amount. Not like you.
And did you have a reasonable amount?
I did have a reasonable amount every single day.
I think your face has got a little bit chubbier, actually.
Yeah, wine and beer every day. Slept terribly as a result. I don't know how you do it.
I don't really do it anymore. It's just pretend these days. So I had a couple of fun weekends whilst you were away.
Yeah.
I actually won a prize with Bennett's Insurance, Bennett's Bike Social. And I won a prize to go and get a VIP ticket for 2 at the Alton Park round, first round in the UK.
Who did you take?
I took my middle son, Albie, who is motorsport obsessed. He's more of a car guy, but it included a fast lap in the pace car, safety car, whatever you call it, which was good. It was fast. It was proper hoofing it round.
Was it way faster than you imagined it would be?
It was what I hoped it would be. 450 brake horsepower, M3 or whatever they are.
Were you like ghost braking in the footwell and stuff like that?
No, not at all. I was just grinning and having fun, knowing that whoever was driving it was capable. Catering all day, got fed all day, grid walk, open bar all day. Got to go on the grid, which was pretty amazing. I spoke to Frank Bird, who owns PBM now, him and his sister Jordan. I actually worked with them a couple of years ago, so that was a nice little connection to make.
I know you met one of your heroes, but you might have to explain again to me who he was.
Oh, for God's sake.
We're sort of a similar age. How have I missed?
You've never been into road racing, have you?
No, that's
As
it.
in, or track racing. So I was a massive fan of Barry Sheen, as I've said many times. And Barry Sheen's bikes always had frames, chassis, whatever you call them, made by Harris Performance. And Mark Wells was kind enough to introduce me to Lester and Steve. Sadly, Lester's brother died a few years ago, so that Steve and Lester left. And they basically sold Harris Performance to Royal Enfield, so it's Harris that actually designed all the Royal Enfield frames, which is why they're such good bikes. Whilst I was messaging Lester, it turned out we were both going to be at Alton Park, and I just said I'll pop in and say hello. I got to go meet Lester Harris, and more lovely. It was him and his son, basically, in just one tent. His son was racing, so he was supporting his son in the sports bike category, new category of racing this year. They were just lovely, absolutely lovely, very, very down to earth. I came away from meeting them, and I got quite emotional. It's fucking Lester Harris. And he was as ordinary and as lovely as you could possibly want. So that was very, very meaningful to me.
So it's racing royalty, isn't it? I do sort of get that, you know.
Absolutely. Not that you'd know it from meeting him, seeing the sort of the little marquee they were both running out of, so that was great. And I also met up with Heaton and Lewis last weekend. I met them for second breakfast. They were on a ride.
Michael Heaton. When I was on the ferry, somebody had one of the TRF magazines, and Michael had won a prize, hadn't he? He took a great picture on his phone on a trail ride that got into the TRF mag.
And he won a set of tyres, set of Mitas tyres as well, yeah. Very lucky. And Simon came along as well, so it's great to meet those guys. And I had a lovely 100-mile ride through the Yorkshire Dales on my big bike. And we've got more to look forward to this weekend. So what we're doing this weekend is we've got a few people coming up to the Secret Cabin. It's the Secret Cabin Trials weekend. And it got me thinking, quite a few people do this, that organise these kind of like mini festivals, I'm going to call them, mini events, where you just get a bunch of your mates together, you find a field somewhere, you go camping somewhere, you go and stay in a YHA and organise a weekend's riding. And I think that's something that everybody should be doing at least twice a year.
We should maybe do a little tiny, very exclusive little one down the field, shouldn't we? Under the band.
Don't say it if you don't mean it.
I do mean it, but yeah, I do mean it. But when? It's the when, isn't it?
Just invite a few of our favourite...
Exactly. They know who they are.
Friends from the podcast.
We don't know who they are, but they know who they are.
Messaging will be going mental soon.
I'll trim the grass, get a portaloo, go. It's a good idea. But what are you saying, that more and more people should do it?
Yes. Well, I hope they do. The twice now that we've been to the Peak District, we've stayed in a YHA, we've done a day at Trials Day, and we've done a trail riding day, and we've just had a lovely time. And it's not that dissimilar to going to a festival, is it really? You just get to ride more. So we've got various friends that Ed always has one for his birthday. Jack's organising something this year, isn't he? There's a few of them going on, smaller events that anybody can organise, really.
The biggest hassle with grown-ups, and I've talked about this before, I'm sure, because nobody tells you this when you're growing up, is that getting adults together is bloody impossible, isn't it?
It is. You have to plan a date quite far in advance, don't you? And make sure it's not your son's 21st or your own 25th wedding anniversary.
God forbid, yeah, an anniversary, yeah. But I mean, who's going to do that? You have to be a real idiot to forget that you've got something like that coming up. Or a terrible father and husband, or both.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue. I'm a terrible human being. Absolute knobhead. ABR. We are going to the ABR, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Are you riding down?
I will be riding down. You'll be taking the van, won't you?
Van and trailer and 2 bikes.
I suppose I could just put my tent in your van. If the weather's nice, I'll ride down anyway. I tend not to ride the trails. I don't see the point.
But you go on your big KTM this time?
I will do, yeah.
That really struck me in Portugal was just how great these CRFs are on motorways. They just sing along, don't they, at 70 quite happily.
Yeah, I don't really understand why people don't like going on motorways on them or bigger roads on them. They're absolutely fine.
If we can just talk about me a bit more for a second. We were 2 CRFs and 2 701s. And I think the CRFs did all right at keeping up with things almost 3 times their capacity.
70 mile an hour is the speed limit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why would you need to go over that, ever?
I mean, you can go more than that, but I'm just saying they're happy at 70, which always I find remarkable for especially the 250s. We didn't really finish the battery story.
Well, I think I finished my bit. Basically told you to get a new battery and you didn't. And funnily enough, your battery went.
But it was just incredible the way the whole battery thing played out, because it was only the last 2 days of a 10-day trip that in the mornings I had to bump start the bike. And for the rest of the day, it was fine. But I just thought, it is slowly dying, this lithium battery, or quickly dying. Continued to just need a push first thing in the morning until I was at the bottom of the ferry waiting to be waved on, and I went to click the starter and nothing. It died at the bottom of the ramp coming onto the ferry. Could not believe it. It was perfect. So I just had to push it up the ramp. They let me sort of just park on the lower deck. Portsmouth is a great terminal for this to happen at, because it's such a short walk from the ferry to the actual passport control. So I just pushed it off the ferry when I got into Portsmouth. John went and got the trailer. Perfect. It was so good.
I think it would have been less inconvenient, though, if you'd actually got a new battery.
Yeah, but it makes...
Are you going to get another lithium one?
Well, I already had a standard battery waiting at home. I cannot recommend enough the anti-gravity lithium battery. It's just been incredible. It's been on a bike since 2017. It's laid dormant through the winters. I don't have a charger for it, so it's never been trickle charged. So it's spent long periods of time doing nothing, and it's still been fantastic through the summers.
So the anti-gravity battery I've got has got one of those features where you press the button and it always retains enough charge. It always have a chip in it. It retains enough charge that you can always start your bike. So that's probably the one to get. And I've got one. I was a bit suspicious about them, but I've had it in for must be about a year now, and it's been spot on every time.
I'm not sort of big on the whole weight-saving concept of it, but just as a battery that's lasted for a long time and has needed very little, well, zero maintenance, it's been incredible.
Well, they're supposed to last twice as long as lead acid, and they don't cost twice as much, do they? I don't think. They are more expensive.
Every time you pick it up, you think, how on earth is this a battery? It's just like an empty casing, isn't it?
I also bought one of those jumper pack things. Can't remember what they're called now. Good job, but we're not sponsored by anybody, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
You can get them from Halfords, about £100. And my old van that had just been sitting there for a year, it's got 2 batteries on it, and I'm thinking it probably won't work on this. It's Toyota, which is one good thing. Got this thing wired onto the batteries straight away. Incredible.
So let's jump back to ABR. We both go to ABR. You're riding, you're camping. We'll be there in no official capacity, but it's going to be fun being there, isn't it?
It's a great way just seeing everybody that you don't see from one month to the next, and it's just a lot of fun. And we get to see people that have been on the podcast, like Kinga and Adam Riemann. Hopefully we'll bump into those guys at some point, so it'd be nice to meet them in person.
And Rory.
Always Rory. That's nice that Rory's doing something at the lightweights, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then again, they've been through our back catalogue and just churned through those, haven't they, really? Oh, Clive, hi, it's Mark here. You don't happen to have a number for Prince William, do you? Rydale Rally. So we've got a bit of a team now. I think there's at least 5 people doing that, and there's about another 5 people that said they were for it as well that haven't entered yet. Are you going to do it in August?
We've got an actual team. Even if I'm not doing it, I'm going to hopefully be there in just a tea-making capacity.
You say that. That's the sort of thing you say and then never follow. You just say this sort of thing to make yourself seem like a nice person.
You're doing it on your CRF rally,
yes,
obviously.
There's enduro bike classes and twin cylinder classes, and then trail bike class, which is what I'll do the CRF in. There's no way I'm not going to be able to hold back trying to go as fast as I can and win, though.
Yeah, everyone does. We'll be somewhere in the middle.
If you remember the last one we entered, that we both entered together, I think we were both top 10.
We were somewhere in the middle.
Seriously, we were.
Get out of it. We're in the middle.
I was at least 14th, and I could have been another 60 seconds quicker, but some fucking GS got in the way. I've got the results. I'll find the results.
This is nonsense. You've come up with this idea in your head, and slowly you've pushed out the truth. This is what humans do. I do this all the time. Just come up with my own narrative for a story, and then
I'll fucking prove it to you. I'm not going to win it again this year.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah. And I'd forgotten about this aspect to it. This is very exciting.
I don't know if it's 3 or 4 in a team, and it's like you combine results and you get a team result. I'm not really bothered about that. We'll just get as many people as we can, and we can always then split them into Team TAMP podcast 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Great.
So if anybody else wants to do it, Google it. You'll find it. Get yourself booked in. Pay your money. Put your details in. Team TAMP podcast, and if necessary, we'll talk to the organisers.
Can we all camp in like a circle?
I've always wanted to do like the circle the wagons at a cowboy thing. Definitely. Well, there we go. Short and sweet this week. I hope you enjoyed it. We're counting down the days now to the ABR festival. If you are going, come over and say hello. It'd be lovely to meet as many of you as possible. And I might even have a few stickers in my pocket to give away. If you're coming to the Lightweight Adventure Festival in July and you're coming on your own, give us a shout. We'll arrange to meet up for a beer or something along those lines and introduce you to some of our other pals. That said, just come along anyway if you're coming on your own. It's the friendliest festival you'll go to. You'll be chatting to people within minutes, I have no doubts. Right, that's it. See you next time. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you really appreciate what we do, you could consider supporting us on Patreon or buy us a coffee. Links are available on our website, which is tampodcast.com, tampodcast.com, where we also have a limited selection of branded stuff. But either way, please keep listening and spreading the word. See you next time.